Mayor Emanuel stands on immigration now that he is mayor of Chicago, a city with a large population of immigrants, is pro-immigrant by the accounts of most immigration rights activists and Latino politicians as well. He has gone on a hunger strike recently for immigration reform in Washington. But critics say that when he was in Washington, he was not really in favor of immigration reform, and in fact was one of the biggest obstacles to that for many years as an aide to President Clinton at one time and later as chief of staff to President Obama in his first term. Recently, here at the Sun-Times, some colleagues of ours, Frank Main and Fran Spielman, published a very interesting story based on a treasure trove of memos from the Clinton administration. And from looking at those memos, we saw that as a White House aide, Rahm Emanuel advised President Clinton that he should achieve a record number of deportations of criminal aliens and that he should also be able to boast that he has completely freed industries like the meatpacking industry from undocumented workers. And of course, there are many, many undocumented workers still in those industries. Since that story was published by the Sun-Times last week, the mayor's office reached out to at least one prominent immigration rights activist and asked that activist to call the newspaper and speak publicly on behalf of the mayor. And that activist, Lawrence Benito from the Illinois Coalition for Immigrant and Refugee Rights, told me that he agreed to do that but didn't want to sugarcoat that they've had differences with Rahm Emanuel over the years. Now, he feels that that relationship has improved tremendously, that Rahm Emanuel has done a number of things to help immigrants in the city since becoming mayor. But certainly, there are many people that don't feel as forgiving toward the mayor on this issue, that they feel that he's been a hypocrite, really, and is trying to just change his stripes now because it benefits him now to do that. But when it benefited his boss politically in the Clinton White House, he advised a very different course of action that was not what immigration rights activists and not what many immigrants would consider friendly toward them. I was discussing this issue of Rahm Emanuel and his shifting stances on immigration on a Spanish language radio program. And I think these call-in programs in Spanish a lot of times capture the public opinion of the Latino community here in Chicago and in other big cities in the U.S. much more closely than any poll or any community group, with all due respect. And there was a lot of anger in some of those calls. In fact, that word hypocrisy came up with some callers into the Vicente Serrano Sin Censura, Uncensored show on 7:50 a.m. And that was a very, very strong sentiment that Rahm Emanuel was coming to them and saying that he was their friend when he needed the votes of immigrants. You know, he's up for re-election next year. So I think he does have some work to do. Many of the people who now have him as an ally in the immigration activist community say, you know, they're no permanent friends, they're no permanent enemies, and so they're happy that he's on their side. They say he's evolved. But the assessment on the part of maybe a lot of the common voters is a lot more critical than that. And I think it's going to take some work for Mayor Emanuel to convince Latinos and other immigrant communities that his conversion this time is final and that it's sincere.